Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an honor and a privilege to have you joining me here today, as it is every day to have you guys joining the conversation as we talk about our favorite thing in the world, movies and TV and all that kind of good stuff. And here's how today's show is going to go, guys. I have picked out 4 topics that you guys have emailed into me to say that you want to talk about. How do you get a topic or a question on the John Campea Show? It's real simple. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Make sure you put the word topic in the subject line so I know that you're sending in a question for the John Campea Show. And as always, guys, keep those emails as short as possible. Absolute maximum is 90 words, but the shorter, the better if you possibly can. Then after that, we're going to go to your live questions. You guys know how that works. And then we will call it a day. And we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, so let's not waste any time. Let's dive right into it. And the first question today comes to us from one of my Patreon supporters, Michael, who writes, greetings from Sweden, and thank you for a great show. Well, thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate that, and I appreciate that you're a Patreon supporter. Just listened to your first reaction to Black Panther, and it really sounded like a short review to me. What would you say is essentially the difference between a review and a quick reaction? It can't just be the length of it, right? Well, okay, so here's what Michael is talking about. So, Black Panther had its premiere the other night. I was fortunate enough to be there. I've been really excited for that film. It was great being there for that. And there are 2 different things. We've talked about this before, but let's get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of it. There are quite often, there's just an embargo and you can't do anything. But sometimes when a studio lets you see a movie early, sometimes they'll set 2 different embargoes. One is a social media embargo. The other is your review embargo. The review embargo is obvious. You can't put out a review of the movie until that date. A social media embargo is when you can at least jump on Twitter and say, hey guys, I saw this movie and I liked it. Or hey guys, I saw this movie and I didn't like it. You know, that's a social media reaction. So with the case of a lot of MCU movies and some other movies, what studios will sometimes do is, okay, we don't want the full reviews dropping yet, but you can do social media reaction. You can do a quick social media reaction after you see the movie. This was the case with Black Panther. So I got on social media after the screening and I sent out a single tweet that basically says, hey, the movie's great. It does an incredible job world building with Wakanda, blah, blah, blah. A couple of other nice things in that. That was my tweet and I sent it out. So what Michael's asking here is a question I've seen more and more people asking. Well, wait a minute, that sounded like a review. What's the difference between a review and a reaction? And part of me, while I giggle a little bit, and act like I'm 70 years old, but in my day, people understood that a review was not something written in 5 lines. A review is a review when you analyze, go a little bit more in depth, you talk at length about it, whether it's, 6 minutes or 16 minutes, whatever, when you go more in depth about it. But it is funny that we live in this Twitter age now where everybody tries to communicate everything, which means you're not really communicating anything, but tries to communicate everything in 140 or now 280 characters or less. But no, so like the massive difference isn't just length, but like you look at my tweet, right? There's no analysis of the film. There's no really breaking down anything. Like I would write, great world building. And then I had people on Twitter asking me like 50 different questions about what does that mean? Well, it's like, I can't go into that because I can't give a review. And then, what I didn't mention, because it's only 280 characters, I mentioned a bunch of stuff, but I didn't mention the performance and, the role that T'Chaka's sister plays, or that the head of his guard plays, or Andy Serkis. And people are asking, well, what about this? What about this? It's like, well, this was just a tweet, folks. I can't actually review the film yet. I got to hold off on that. That's a review. And that really is essentially the difference between a reaction. A reaction is a quick snippet thought. Here's what I thought of the movie. I liked it. I didn't like it. Okay, there's the reaction, which is essentially what the tweet is. And, whatever you can squeeze in there. Now, going back about even just a year, some film pundits tried to use a loophole with that. And actually, there's a friend of mine that that tried to get kind of sneaky with that, where they wrote like 19 sequential tweets. And it's like, or 20 something sequential tweets. it's like, well, I'm not putting up a review. It's just social media. It's like, come on. And the studio finally interviews. It's like, you're writing out a review. Like, a social media embargo is not just that it lives on social media. You understand the spirit of it. The spirit of it is you give a quick little snippet of what you thought and how you reacted to it, positively or negatively. You understand that's what the spirit of it is. And this guy, who was a friend of mine, said, all right, I stop. And he stopped doing that, thank goodness, because it really was kind of underhanded of him. And he knows it. He knows it was underhanded. But really, essentially, that's the difference. Is that, a social media reaction is just a couple lines that just gives, hey, boom, here's my general thought. But you got to understand, a general thought is not a review. A review and a general thought are really two big different things. And it's not just about length. It's about the spirit of it. Hey, here's a couple things I liked about this movie. Boom. Well, what do you mean about that? Well, I can't explain that. That's a review. So anyway, that's my definition. I just know with a lot of people seeing the reactions to Black Panther or Justice League or Star, whatever, seeing reactions. Well, what's the difference between that and a review? Well, I don't think if we lived in the Twitter age where people try to think all information is contained in 280 characters, or less, that people would even ask that question. But it is the age we live in, so people are, like Michael are asking, totally understandable. But to me, that's the difference between a reaction and a review. If you guys have some definition ideas, jump down to the comments section. Let me know what you guys think. All right, let's move on now to the next question. And the next question comes to us from another one of my Patreon supporters, Kevin. And Kevin writes, what the hell ever happened to network entertainment news shows like Entertainment Tonight and Access Hollywood? Many years ago, these shows would report on movies, TV shows, and music. Fast forward to today, and they're all about celebrity gossip and personal lives of celebrities. Well, thanks a lot for the question, Kevin. And man, you and me both. When I was a little kid growing up, for whatever reason, other kids are watching cooler stuff. I loved, just before bedtime, I got to watch Entertainment Tonight. And I would put on Entertainment Tonight, and I think at the time, like, Mary Hart and John Tesh were the hosts or whatever, but their film critic was Leonard Maltin. Leonard Maltin, who's still around, man, still doing his thing. I still see him at screenings all the time. I've never had the guts to go up and talk to him. I've never had the guts to go up and... It's weird. I can sit down in a room. This is the weirdest thing. I've sat down in the rooms and shot the shit with Chris Hemsworth, Robert Downey Jr., Ben Affleck. I've sat down at the same table with George Lucas. I've talked to Harrison Ford and whatever. I quite frequently will bump into and chat with Kevin Feige. I've bumped into and chatted with Zack Snyder or Jeff Johns, all that kind of. But if I see, there's two people I freeze around. Weird Al Yankovic. I know, sounds weird. I've bumped into Weird Al Yankovic a dozen times, and I've never had the guts to go up and talk to him. I love Weird Al, and I just get starstruck around Weird Al. John, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Yep, I know. But the other guy seems to be Leonard Maltin. I've run into him, has to be 20, 30, 40 times at various screenings, and I have never had the guts to go up and talk to him. John, you're fanboying over a movie critic? You're damn right I am. I grew up watching Leonard Maltin. I just love the way, the attitude he brings to film criticism and everything. I just think he's a delightful man, and whatever. What was the point of all that? I'm not sure. I got rambling, as I am prone to do sometimes. But yeah, I used to watch Entertainment Tonight. And they would talk about movies. And they would talk about big TV shows and things that are going on behind the scenes and in front of the scenes and all that kind of stuff. You know, and even in the earlier days, things like E, Extra, Access Hollywood, all used to be the same thing. Although Access Hollywood does have one certain Scott Mance. So they got that going for them. But besides, Scott, like, you're right. You watch these shows. I remember me and Ann and Kaori. And Kaori used to work for Extra. Some of you may not have known that. For the longest time, Kaori, who you've seen on a lot of my videos and who's a friend of mine and Ann's, she worked at Extra for years. And I remember this time, the three of us were in Vegas, and we went down and had breakfast at the buffet, and then we're just hanging out in the room, and we've got the TV on, saying, oh, and I wanted to flip through the entertainment shows. And all of them, all they talked about is, oh, Lamar was seen coming out of a club last Tuesday in Chicago with this unknown woman, and they spent 15 minutes talking about that. Oh my gosh, Chloe was seen and heard saying this about her ex-beau. Ooh, what does this mean? I'm like, what the fuck has happened to this world? Back in my day, I'm just like, what kind of monumental bullshit have these pathetic shows turned into? These shows used to be great. And now they're just, oh my gosh, did you see that the skirt she was wearing at that awards season event was a half-inch shorter than the skirt she wore at the other half-season event? Let's bring in a panel of 9 people to discuss Skirtgate. And like, that's what these shows have become. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, these things used to talk about entertainment. And now they're not about entertainment. They're just completely about celebrity gossip. So yes, I am with you, man. I lament that. I don't have an answer to it. I lament that. It saddens me. All you and I can hope for is that the one decent thing any of these shows have in them is Scott Mance, and maybe Scott Mance can drag them back into the light, because Scott's an entertainment guy. Scott is a movie and television guy, and maybe he can make it happen. Well, I'm telling you, that seems like to be the only thing in any of these shows. It's just, they've become so bad and so pathetic. So I can't watch them, man. I can't stomach them. Anyway, you let me know what you guys think. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in the last year or so, maybe they've started to turn the page. Maybe some of you guys watch these shows and maybe they're getting better. I don't know. Jump down in the comments section. Talk about it. Let us know. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question comes to us from Jeff Steinbeck. And Jeff Steinbeck writes, "Hey, John, hope all is well. All is always well. Thank you so much." And I got people in the comment section telling me Scott left. If Scott left, I didn't even know. I was just talking to Scott like 2 weeks ago. Scott left? I had no idea Scott left, if that's the truth. Anyway, hey, John, hope all is well. Quick question. Do you think we haven't had a Solo trailer yet? Because Disney already putting so much money into the movie because of all the drama behind the scenes. They are wary on how much to put into marketing. Thanks, and keep up the great work. Hey, look, until this trailer drops, where the hell is the Solo, a Star Wars story marketing? It's going to be a big topic amongst movie fans. Now, granted, like I keep trying to say, look, we're still practically 4 months away. We're getting close. Pretty soon we're going to call it 3.5 months, but we're still basically 4 months away from the movie. So I'm still beating the drum that there's nothing to worry about, nothing to panic about. It doesn't matter. But as each day passes, that we don't get, official Han Solo marketing, an official Han Solo teaser or a trailer or whatever, each day that passes is kind of upping the ante and upping the stress level a little bit. But fans about, okay, well, wait a minute, where the hell is this trailer? I mean, look, it's still like basically 4 months away, but still a lot of people, as each day passes, that excuse is getting thinner and thinner. A while ago, we were able to say, hey, look, the movie's still 5 months away. Don't worry about it. Then it was, okay, the movie's still 4.5 months away. Don't worry about it. Then the movie's like 4 months away. Don't worry about it. Now we're getting close. We're just about ready to say the movie's 3.5 months away. I still think it's plenty of time. But as each day passes, it's less and less. And that excuse is getting thinner and thinner. So I understand more and more people are going to want to bring it up and talk about it. I totally get it. It makes sense. So the one theory that's being touted around, that was just brought up in the question, is, well, wait a minute. What if, because of all the reshoots, and they did extensive reshoots on this movie, because of all the reshoots, so you can throw their original budget out the film, or the original budget of the film out the window. Because of all the reshoots, like what if we're talking about a movie now that costs like $300 million, $320 million to make? What if Disney is realizing, hey, we can't spend even too much more money on this with marketing. We got to be careful a little bit. We can't just keep throwing money at this. Here's what I would say to that. In terms of, pardon me, all the reshoots they've done and how much money they've had to put into this film, the way studios like Disney and Warner Brothers and Universal would look at this is this. We have put so much money into this movie, we can't afford to not put a lot of money into the marketing. I know that feels weird to say, but think about it for a minute. We have spent so much money on this movie, we can't afford not to spend a ton of money on the marketing. Because the more money they spend on the movie making it, the more they've got to make at the box office. And you ain't going to make more money at the box office by cutting out your marketing budget. I mean, there's that old adage, you got to spend money to make money. This seems to be one of those situations where that's true. Disney is going to spend a hell of a lot of money marketing Han Solo. Well, then where's the trailer? Well, I think, look, there's still a possibility they move this movie out of May. I don't think they will. I think it's staying in May. I think it's opening in May. But keep this in mind, Super Bowl is coming. And, you know, I've changed my tune. A while ago, I said, no. They're not going to do a Han Solo Super Bowl spot. They're not going to do it. But I've changed my tune. I mean, look, as the information has changed, you got to be willing to change your opinion. And I've changed my opinion because the information's changed. Super Bowl's going to get here pretty soon. We still have seen nothing. It seems to me, and I could be wrong about this for sure, but it seems to me that they're going to come out of the gates big. And then you're going to get nothing but marketing until that movie comes out. So I do think they're going to spend big money. I think they have to spend big money. Like, you spent so much money making this movie, you have to spend big money on marketing. So I think that is coming. And what bigger way or bigger thing to spend money on than the Super Bowl? So whereas I didn't think they would do a Super Bowl ad before, I have come around to thinking that maybe they will. And they'll come out of the gate. They'll do a spot on the Super Bowl. And the moment that spot comes out, new poster will drop, a whole bunch of set images will come out, a new synopsis will come out, and then it's going to be a 3.5 month sprint with heavy marketing until the movie actually comes out. So that's what I'm thinking they're going to do, but Super Bowl is just days away. We'll find, go Patriots, by the way. The Super Bowl is only a few days away, so we're going to know soon enough. We are going to know soon enough. All right. Last email question of the day. And this question comes to us from John Spear, who writes, big fan. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate that. Now that you've seen Black Panther, I have seen Black Panther, does your opening weekend box office prediction change at all? Thanks, man. All right, so look, a lot of people have been wanting to talk about Black Panther's box office for a long time, right? And one of the things I said about the Black Panther box office before was that, look, I'll give you my guess, but I withhold the right to change this guess once I see the movie, once we get a sense of how good or how bad the movie is, once I get a sense about how positive or how negative the buzz is going to be, once I get a better sense about what type of marketing they're going to do as they get into the home stretch, all that kind of stuff. And I think I was around at first like the 100 to 115 million range. My original guesses were, I think it was around there. Anyway, then the marketing got better and better and better. And then tracking numbers came out, said 120. I started hearing some buzz about the movie. And I remember talking to a publicist who just kind of looked at me and went, you're going to like this. And that's all. I mean, just had a publicist go, you're going to like this. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, you clearly believe in this. So then I started thinking, okay, well, you know, maybe has a chance of breaking that Deadpool record. You know, Deadpool holds the opening weekend box office record for the first solo superhero film. So films would be like Iron Man 1, Spider-Man 1, Deadpool, you know, things like that. Deadpool holds the record right now, like $136 million. I started thinking maybe Black Panther has a shot at breaking that record. Today, now after I've seen the movie, it's breaking that record. I mean, I don't have any doubt about it now. The positive word of mouth, and as more press screenings start happening across the country this week, and more people are going to get to see it, this is a movie people are going to really like. I'm just going to tell you, I'm not going to review the movie. I'm just going to tell you, this is a movie that people are going to really like. People are really going to like this movie. Again, you know, you see some people on Twitter, best MCU movie ever. I'm not going to go that far. I mean, what I said in my tweet was, I think it's the best MCU movie since Civil War. There have been 4 Marvel films, all films that I've liked since Civil War. You got Guardians, you got Spider-Man, you got Thor Ragnarok, Guardians, Thor, Spider-Man, Guardians, Thor, Spider-Man, Guardians, Thor, Spider-Man. Well, I'm brain freezing on the last. Oh, and Doctor Strange. So for all good movies, all solid movies, this is my favorite out of that bunch. And I don't think it's the greatest one ever, but I think it's the greatest out of the bunch. And I think a lot of people are really going to like this film. That being said, I think the buzz and the positive word of mouth and the excitement is just going to continue to build. I'm now guessing 150. I'm now guessing 150. And do you remember the other day on this show, the question came up about, do you think there's any chance that Black Panther maybe could, at the end of the day, outperform Avengers Infinity War? And while everybody, of course, yells no, and if I had to put $5 down, I would bet no, sure, of course, because Black Panther's also in Avengers Infinity War. I said there are a few paths to victory that this could conceivably happen. I wouldn't bet on it, but it's possible. And I'm telling you, the type of buzz just keeps mounting and mounting and mounting and mounting. And then people see it, and they buzz about it, and they go back multiple times, and they bring their friends. And then, but all this is predicated on that Avengers Infinity War disappoints. If Infinity War doesn't disappoint, then it's going to win overall, but it's possible here. And this opening weekend box office could be a monster box office weekend. Could be a monster box office weekend. I mean, I'm guessing 150 right now, but again, I will reserve the right to change that as we get even closer and we see what the atmosphere is like before the movie opens, but I'm thinking 150 now. And that's a far cry from where I was before. That is a far cry from where I was before. But it's just getting more and more positive now that I've seen it. I think it's going to be great. Okay, let's move on now, guys, to the live questions. And we are going to start off the live questions going over here to Micah T. And Micah T writes, John, I've been thinking about Odin's scene in Ragnarok. It had me choked up, man. I thought it was especially important for Loki to get that reassurance when Odin tells them both, I love you, my sons. Dude, one of my I don't talk about it much because it's so subtle. Honestly, Micah, one of my favorite moments in Thor Ragnarok, which is a ridiculously entertaining film. But when Odin says that, I love you, my sons, the camera goes to Loki's face for a second. And there's this face, there's this look on Loki's face, played so great by Tom Hiddleston, that is so moving because in just a second of an expression, Tom Hiddleston communicates that Loki in that moment feels embarrassed, happy, regretful, relieved, all at once, all in a single glance. To me, it is one of the most beautiful moments of that film. Honestly, to me, it's one of the most beautiful moments of the MCU. Pardon me. I thought it was a pivotal, wonderful moment that told us more about the character of Loki in a single frame without dialogue than almost anything else Loki has been in. And I love the Loki character, but that was a special moment to me. So I completely agree with you, Micah. Micah T also writes, also, do you think Loki could get a flashback to Odin in the field like Thor did? He told them both, remember this place. Well, see, I don't think Odin told Thor, remember this place, so they can go back and have dream spirit visions of him to tell him, come on, son, you're the god of thunder. I think he told them that because remember, Odin also says, this could be Asgard. And then he says, remember this place, my sons. I think that was just Odin telling them, you're going to have to bring our people here. Asgard is now going to be on Earth, which is huge, by the way. Also, I have been convinced by you guys. You guys have convinced me. Even though I said no before, you guys have changed my mind. You guys have convinced me. I believe Loki's dying in the first 10 minutes of Avengers Infinity War. I think he's dying. I think that shot we see of him in the trailer holding up the Tesseract, I think that might be his final moment. I don't know that. No one's told me that. I have no insider information. I'm just guessing like you. But you guys have convinced me that. So I don't think we're going to see Loki get that flashback. One, because I think the flashback was talking about bringing the people there, not to go and have dream visions there. And also because I think, unfortunately and sadly, I think Loki's going to bite at this one and maybe bite it for real. All right, next one. Alton J writes, John, watch Baby Driver thanks to you. I loved it. That's one of my favorite things about doing this show is when I get to mention a movie that maybe somebody didn't check out before and then they go check it out and enjoy it. That makes my heart happy, man. Thank you for sharing that, Alton. I really appreciate that. Kyle writes, do you have a new favorite flavor of ice cream? My current favorite, my all-time favorite is probably cookies and cream. But my current favorite is still that Haagen-Dazs chocolate peanut butter. Haagen-Dazs chocolate peanut butter is still my favorite right now. All time is cookies and cream, but at the moment, my go-to ice cream is Haagen-Dazs. This is important stuff we're talking about here, guys. Screw the State of the Union. This is important shit. Haagen-Dazs chocolate and peanut butter. There you go. Thanks a lot, Kyle. Kevin Bennett writes, over under. Bucky's next arm is vibranium. I take the over on 90%. I take the over. If you said the over under was 90%, I'll take the over on that. Dude's in Wakanda. His arm was made of metal. He's missing his arm now. Doesn't take a rocket science to figure out his arm is probably going to be adamantium. If it wasn't before, I'm not really sure. No, it couldn't have been before. Okay, Mason Barr writes, loving the content, looking forward to the new girls. What Mason's talking about is, of course, Mariah and Danielle. They were both over here at mine and Ant's place. We were going through all the stuff, the technical aspect. And right now the plan is Danielle is going to be on tomorrow's show to help me out. And then Mariah will be on Friday. And then they'll be back on Monday through Friday. They'll become a regular part of the schedule. So the plan right now is, unless the plan changes, the plan is Danielle starts tomorrow. Thanks for mentioning them, Mason. I'm sure they'd appreciate that. Luis Francisco writes, love the show. I think Sam Witwer is kind of underrated. He is a hell of an actor and very talented. He should be in more major roles, in my opinion. No, dude, you're preaching to the choir to me. Sam's phenomenal. I love, even when he's in really pieces of garbage material, he brings something special. And to me, that's the hallmark of a really good actor. It's easy to look good in a magnificent film with a great director and a great script, but when you're in a piece of garbage with a real questionable script and whatever, and a real questionable premise, and yet you manage to elevate the material anyway, that's the sign of a great actor. Sam Rockwell is a great actor. Sam Witwer is one of those actors, I believe. Chris Warden writes, you wanted us to hold you a candle, so I have to ask, how are those 6 a.m. workouts going? There's a reason I look so tired, man. Ann and I got back from the gym. So I'm like flying when I get... So Ann and I, the alarm goes off at 5:30. We go to the gym. We walk back in the door about 7:30. I jump into the shower as fast as I can. Scoot in here, make a cup of tea, scoot in here, turn on the cameras, and start by 8. So it's a little hectic, but... they're going. Thanks for asking, man. It's been a little hard lately because of the cough, but I've been getting into the flow of it, recovering it, because I went like almost a month without being able to exercise because of the cough and how sick I was over the vacation period. But I am back into the routine, and thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Mary writes, hear about the Metropolis show DC announced yesterday. Will not have Superman a la Gotham. Thoughts? Kind of wish they'd take a chance on other DC characters. I'll be honest, Mary, with everything I was doing with the girls yesterday, as well as Anne ended up in the hospital yesterday. She's totally fine. Anne is totally fine. She ate something at some restaurant and then broke into hives and rashes and all over. And so they rushed her to the hospital, and then it went away. And then it just cleared up. They shot her with some steroids in her ass, and then it just went away. So yay, but so yesterday was a really hectic day for me. That, and I still try to pull off 2 shows, and it was hectic. So no, I did not hear about that, Mary. Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. Now I can go and look for that as soon as the show's over. Luis Francisco writes, Stipe versus DC is official. Who you got? Stipe Miocic, the UFC heavyweight champion. Daniel DC Cormier, the light heavyweight champion. They're having a mega fight. And these are 2 of my favorite fighters. I love these guys. They're having a mega fight at heavyweight. And remember, Daniel Cormier used to fight at heavyweight, so he's totally comfortable at heavyweight. I don't know, man. These guys are ridiculously both good wrestlers. DC usually out-wrestles his opponent, but Stipe's a really good wrestler. I think it's going to come down to striking. DC is an underrated striker, but Stipe is the baddest man on the planet. I'm going to say Stipe. I think Stipe by knockout in the 4th. Knockout in the 4th. But it's going to be a great fight. I'm going to be cheering for both of them. I can't wait to see that. I'm so glad they made that fight. Daniel Rudd writes, thoughts on Jared Leto as an actor and in 30, I don't know what 30 STM is. 30, no idea what that is. So Jared Leto's an actor. He's fantastic. There's a reason there's an Academy Award that looks much like my coffee mug. There's a reason there's an Academy Award on his mantle. He is a hell of an actor. I really liked his Joker. I know a lot of people didn't, but that's fine, whatever. I liked his Joker very much. I loved him in Blade Runner 2049. I love him just about everything he's in. I'm a Jared Leto fan. I am a Jared Leto fan. Tony Lamar writes, would you accept a movie trivia challenge from me? I don't lose. So, no, here's the problem, and here's why. I remember when I used to do movie trivia stuff, like, I would get 500 emails from people. I'll challenge you. I'll challenge you. And everybody wants to challenge me. I remember we were at the LA Comic-Con, and two other people say, I'll do great in this, and you bring them up and they got no answers correct. So no, Tony, I appreciate the offer, but if I accepted your challenge and I'm insulting the 700 other people who I said no to, and if I did start saying yes, that's all I'd be doing with my day all the time. So, no, but make no mistake, I'd beat your ass, man. I'd beat your ass. But thanks for asking, dude. I appreciate it. Devontae Brown writes, is Black Panther music all Kendrick Lamar or a score? There's some score in there. The music's great. Now, I'm one of these guys who were like, when Daft Punk did the soundtrack for Tron 3, everybody was talking about the soundtrack. And I thought it was okay. I mean, it worked. But everybody just loves it. Okay. I liked it. It worked for me. I didn't think it was all that special. Everybody was talking about, Kendrick Lamar's doing the music for Black Panther. Kendrick, that means it's going to be awesome. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard that song and dance before. Music's really good. The music in Black Panther is real good. And it fits. That's the important thing. It fits with the tone and the feel of the scenes. They did a really good job. I'd have to see the movie again to start to pay attention about how much is like soundtrack versus how much is score versus how much is music. But I'd have to double check that because I can't remember off the top of my head. All I remember is there were many times in the theater that I'm like, just because it was so great and it fit in. Adam K. writes, I respect how you handled the Jay situation. I worry that his actions will encourage toxic behavior from fans online when we should be fighting it. I don't know what to say here. The Jay Washington situation continues to be a thing, and I'll say this. I'm really disappointed in. First of all, I'm very disappointed in Jay. I expected better from Jay. I've always liked Jay. I've always had very positive interactions with him. He's always been very nice to my face. I've always enjoyed it when he was around. He seemed like a fairly rational person. So I'll just say this. I'm very disappointed that somebody who I thought was one of the smarter people in our space chose to behave in the way that he behaved. I am disappointed in organizations that he works with who kind of turned a blind eye to it and didn't address it and did not try to reel it in. I remember quite often, when I would be leading a certain organization or team and things like this, even with people who just worked, who maybe not have been full-time with us, but worked on an auxiliary level with us, when situations like that arose, I would intervene. And I would bring them into my office and say, hey, look, what you're doing is reflecting on us. Because even you, whether you are or not a full-time employee, you are associated with us. Therefore, what you're doing is reflecting on us. And let's just say I'm just very disappointed with the way the whole thing went. I know there's a lot of people who want me to rant and go off on a really angry thing. I'm not, because honestly, I'm not angry. I'm just really disappointed in the situation as a whole. I'm disappointed in some individuals. And yeah, I mean, look, the online space can be a very toxic place. And you need people who are more level-headed, like some other associates of mine that I used to work with. There are some very smart, level-headed people, but you need more people like that. I thought Jay Washington might have been one of those people. Turns out I was wrong. So I'm disappointed, but hey, it is what it is. I'd really rather not talk about it anymore, to be honest with you, and I really do. Listen, my Twitter and everything has been flooded by you guys, sending me really positive, encouraging things. I appreciate that very much. I do. But it's done. No, I haven't received an apology from anybody or anything like that, but it's done. What's done is done. So what I would ask everybody, because I know a bunch of you people have been giving Jay a very hard time. Listen, honestly, yelling at Jay online and calling him names and all that kind of stuff, that's not going to solve the problem. So all you're doing, honestly, and I know you meant well, I appreciate that, but really all you're doing is furthering a toxic environment. So while I appreciate you guys jumping to my defense, I really, really do. I'm going to ask you guys to let's all move past it. Let's let it go. It's what's done is done. It's not going to be changed. I appreciate your support and all that kind of stuff, but I think it's time to leave Jay alone, and I think it's time to just move on from it. I mean, it happened. It's unfortunate it happened. I'm disappointed it happened, but let's move on from it. And it's time to leave him alone. And that's what I am asking you guys to do. So thank you for listening, and thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it, Adam. Thank you. Koba writes, "Hey, John, did you see the trailer for Steven Soderbergh's Unsane? And what did you think about the filming being done on a phone?" I haven't seen the official trailer. I've seen a bunch. Believe it or not, they're actually put out a bunch of footage and clips of this movie he was making. I think it's very interesting that he's doing it with an iPhone. Like, sometimes in an art, you just have to do something to see what happens. I think that's true in science, but I also think it's true in art. And I think the idea of, hey, look, there's so much of our culture who we shoot our lives and document our lives on these little multimedia devices. Why not try shooting a movie on one? And I'm sure lots of little indie filmmakers have done that. But for a guy with the name of Steven Soderbergh to do it, I think that's really interesting. And I'm going to be very fascinated to see what the final results are. Thanks for bringing that to everybody's attention, Koba. I really appreciate that. Michael, oh, and by the way, guys, my bad. I forgot to tell you, please don't send in any more Twitter questions because I'm almost out of time here. Michael Ginnard writes, "I'd like to see Archer on the big screen with CGI characters so the voice actors can use their voices." I mean, that would be cool, but nobody would see it. Not enough people watch that TV show. I love Archer. It is my favorite animated show on TV right now. I love Archer. But, yeah, I think... it's not popular enough. I don't think it would be a draw. Ben Rayner writes, "Which movie would have a harder time making a lot of profit, Solo or Justice League? Both had major reshoots." It's really hard to say because Justice League already came out. We know how good or not good it was. Everybody's had their say on it, and there's there. Solo, we haven't even seen a trailer. So it's absolutely impossible to say which will outdo the other when we've seen one and we've seen nothing out of the other. My gut is that Solo will make a profit and will probably outdo Justice League. But I don't know that for sure at this point. Like, we got to wait and at least see how a trailer drops, how people react to it, all that kind of stuff. Let's ask that question again later, Ben. Anthony C. I only got 2 more minutes here. Anthony C. writes, "A film that your friends love but that you hate." Oh, Blade Runner. I mean, I wish I loved Blade Runner. I really do, but I just don't like Blade Runner. Jessica Tennis writes, "Yesterday you mentioned Iron Man 3 as a mistake by the MCU. I completely agree with you. The one MCU film I cannot watch again. Too many plot holes. Then I looked at your AMC review of the movie." Well, remember, Iron Man 3, I liked Iron Man 3. Iron Man 2, not so much. Iron Man 3 I liked. However, there's a lot of people who did not like it. Like, there are quite, like, for instance, you'll hear me say that, like, Suicide Squad and their approach to that was a mistake. But I like Suicide Squad. Well, then, John, why are you saying it's a mistake? Because it's not all about me. It's about how did the larger audience respond? How did people actually react to it? What did it do for other people? It's not just about me. So when I say things like, for instance, I also said, I also talked about Justice League. To me, Justice League is a good movie. But I also said it was a disaster. Well, John, how can you say you liked it and it was a good movie, and yet say it was a disaster? Because both are true. Both are true. I mean, when you put out a movie that ends up being the lowest box office result movie of all the DCEU films, which means less people were interested in going to see it than any other DCEU movie, and it's your Justice League movie, for heaven's sakes. Yes, my opinion is I like it, and yes, I went to go see it 6 or 7 times, but we're not talking about me. We're talking about the overall thing. And I think it's always important to be able, as a film fan, to make a distinction between what you think, but then be cognizant and sober about, okay, now take me out of it. Really, what was the overall effect with most people? And just be honest about it. And so I think that's important, Jessica, but thank you for bringing that up. It's an important topic. Mike Thompson writes, "You're forced to spend the rest of your life in solitary confinement, but you are allowed to bring one film to watch every day. What movie would you pick? Catch, you can only choose a terrible movie." Only choose a terrible movie. Mortal Kombat. There we go. And the last question I'm going to take today comes to us from D. Walthers, who writes, "Hey, John, glad you enjoyed Black Panther. When can we expect your Black Panther spoiler review? Also, glad you liked the Jedi pants drawing. I might draw more in the future. Really enjoying your show." Well, I mean, if you're talking about the picture about me and my wife, the picture that I love that picture. I wish I had it here that I could bring it up and show it to you now. But I've been getting some great art from you guys that you guys have been drawing and sending to me. Some fantastic art. I've absolutely loved it. Thank you so much for all that art you've been sending to me. My Black Panther review will come out, as always, my review comes out on February 6th. That's when the embargo lifts. My spoiler review will come out, as always, the day after the film opens. So it opens on the Thursday night, so probably sometime on the Friday that it opens, I will put it out. But I do not believe, you guys know this, I do not believe in putting out spoiler reviews before a movie opens in North America. Because to me, all you're doing is being a fountain of spoilers for people. Who then, so like when you put out a spoiler review of a movie before it opens, you become the well of spoilers that everybody can come and get, and trolls can come and get all the spoilers and then go to all the chat boards and drop spoilers everywhere. And I don't believe in that. So my spoiler review will be the day after it opens. So it opens on the Thursday night. I will probably drop it on the Friday sometime. That's just my opinion on that. All right, guys, for those of you who did not get who sent in a question but did not get it asked, don't worry. I will take your questions first when I do open mic a little bit later today. By the way, guys, want to remind you, open mic today at 3 p.m. Los Angeles time. That's 6 p.m. New York time, where it's all taking your stuff. It's going to be video and audio questions that you sent in and all live chat. I love doing open mic. It's a lot of fun. We go like over an hour for that show too. So, and I will, for those of you who did send in super chat questions now, I will get to those questions first thing when we do open mic a little bit later today. All right, guys, that will do it for me for this installment of the John Campea Show. Can't tell you how tickled I am that you guys chose to spend a part of your day here with me. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys. And also, guys, just want to give a little bit of a shameless plug here. Yeah, I don't have a 23-person staff. I don't have 2 major corporate owners anymore who just fund money into me and all that kind of stuff. I am only able to do these shows and work at this full time because of my Patreon supporters, because you guys supporting me. Do me a favor, if you watch these shows and enjoy them, go over to patreon.com/John Campea. Get all the information there about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter actually keeps these shows on the air, and also what benefits there are to being a Patreon supporter. And if you decide to be a Patreon supporter, that would be awesome, and you would have my eternal gratitude. And if not, that's totally fine too. I'm just glad you're here being a film fan with me. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.